Greetings, true Romans. True Roman bread for true Romans. We're going to be talking about Julius Caesar. I know right now we're taking a halt from the campaign, from History March, from Hannibal to Danimal to Cannibal, Animal, Hannibal, because there's still a little bit more for the series to develop, and there's still a lot more. So I don't want us to end it right away, and then there's a pause. So we're gonna get like a little bit of a shorter rush down, or not shorter, but a nice sarcastic rundown of Gaius Julius Caesar, and this is from none other than, I want to get true to Overly Sarcastic Productions. So first of all, please everyone support the original content creator. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as a true Roman should, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for our channel too. Unfortunately, the YouTube algorithm and rhyme has been really acting up. And what do I mean by this? Well, people aren't being notified when we go live or upload content. We have another channel called Chicago Reacts, and I did 2 live streams where I did a reaction to Angron, Lord of the Red Sands by Warrior Tier. And it's just, I've been noticing larger channels are also saying the same thing too. People aren't being notified. So the only way to do it is to help participate and share, and follow us on all of our social medias, and do that also for the original content creator. But now enough of this, my fellow true Romans. Let's enjoy this video in a 3, 2, and an uno. Hail Caesar. As we should all the time, every time.
Ah, the Roman Republic, perhaps the ancient world's most brilliant form of government. It's had a rough go in its later years, but with the right people in charge, I bet that it could continue on for centuries to come. Like this guy right here, Julius Caesar, who I'm sure
What could go wrong? But the Republic is weak.
will do everything in his power to preserve the Republic. We saw in the last couple videos that as Roman politics got increasingly factional and Roman territory got increasingly massive, things started getting increasingly civil war-y. As in, they'd barely be able to go a decade between 135 and 30 BC without collapsing into some variety of a civil war. It's honestly a minor miracle that Rome didn't permanently tear itself in half before we even got to Caesar. So as we push forward through history and get to talking about our old buddy Julius, I want to consider the question of whether the Roman Republic, not Rome as a whole, but specifically the Republican system of government, was doomed to fail, or whether it had any chance of survival. Because our answer to that question really matters when we look at people like Caesar and Augustus and ask ourselves what they did and whether or not they went too far. But since I'm impatient, I'm going to
I'm 50-50 on whether the Republic could have survived. The problem is that with all the territory it was acquiring, sooner or later it had to become centralized and become, I guess, the imperium that we knew it today, and make Europe look beautifully red. Unfortunately now, since Rome fell, we are in the dark times still. There was a time of civilization, and now it's all gone.
give you my answer right now. To me, the Republic had almost no chance of surviving on its own. 0. You saw what happened in the first century. You know what kind of mess Rome was in. I love the Roman Republic. It's one of my favorite systems of government ever, but that poor thing was so screwed. So with our sickly looking republic on its last legs, let's meet the guy who took it out back and killed it dead. Julius Caesar. Now let's do some history. To establish what kind of guy Caesar really is, I'll spin you a yarn about some Cilician pirates. When Caesar was in his early 20s, he managed to get himself captured by a band of pirates who wanted to ransom him off for 20 talents of silver. There's no agreed upon
And Caesar was like, that's too low.
Conversion between talents and US dollars, but for our purposes, let's just say that 1 talent is about $1 million. So when Caesar heard this sum, he straight up laughed at them and demanded that they ask for a much more respectable 50 talents instead. The pirates, charmed by Caesar's overwhelming diva-ness and razor-sharp cheekbones, I might add, were all too happy to keep him around for the sheer entertainment factor. He played games with them, told stories, and even wrote poems and speeches for them. Sometimes they'd joke about his speeches being bad, and Caesar would respond by saying that when he got free, he'd come back and crucify every last one of them, which the pirates apparently thought was hilarious. Eventually, the pirates did get their 50 talents, so they let Caesar go. And then about 5 seconds later, Caesar came back with a bunch of ships and arrested all of them, casually taking his 50 talents back. He brought the pirates to the provincial...
See now, that's, here's the thing. After a while, the man's serious, he's joking around. If I was one of those pirates, I'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry, man. They forced me into this, man. You want me to bust you out of here?
governor, but since he didn't really seem to care all that much, Caesar took matters into his own hands and took the high road by keeping his promise, and crucified all of them.
Oh, okay, great. Wow. Caesar's got that dog in him.
Fun! Moral of the story is Caesar cares a lot about his image, he's amazingly charismatic, he's not afraid to take matters into his own hands if he needs to, and he does not screw around. On to more historically significant matters, our boy Gaius Julius Caesar was a well-to-do nobleman from a prestigious family that traced its ancestry back to the epic hero Aeneas and his mother Venus. However, Caesar had a chip on his shoulder because his dad was never consul. You see, in Roman culture, the concept of nobilitas was rooted in the idea that you can inherit excellence, but you have to confirm it by doing excellent things in the present. So,
So there you go. With actions, not words, deeds, not statements.
like in the Middle Ages and the Renaissance and the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution and the early modern period, you couldn't just coast by on familial prestige, you actually had to, do something for it in ancient Rome. Caesar's dad not being consul was a big deal, so his primary goal in life was to confirm his nobilitas by just being consul. To do it, he struck a deal with two other prominent Romans, Crassus, the richest man in Rome, and
Damn, all right, Crassus the money.
Pompey, Rome's most accomplished general, and they
Pompey Magnus.
created an informal alliance. In other words, they made the first triumvirate. They were all good friends, Pompey married Caesar's daughter, Crassus bribed Caesar's way to the consulship in 59 BC, Caesar passed all the laws that Pompey and Crassus wanted, it was a good time.
All right, go pass the laws we want. Nice. I mean, yes.
In the process of ramming through debt forgiveness and land redistribution legislation, Caesar definitely broke several procedural norms and did things that were straight up
That's debatable. He didn't do anything wrong.
illegal, but since he was consul, he had imperium, the gold Mario star of Roman politics, which meant that he couldn't be prosecuted for his actions while he was in office, regularly overriding the veto of your co-consul on the principle of because I said so, and filling the city with legionaries to dissuade your political opponents may be definite no-nos in the eyes of the Roman elite, but no one could really do anything about it. If you want the full details of Caesar's consulship, this video here shows you all of the shady but also kind of despicably brilliant stuff that went down. Anyway, for Caesar's year in power, he was safe, but once that consulship and his imperium expired, Caesar had a big target on his back, so he needed to find a way to keep his imperium until he was allowed to run for consul again 10 years later. Conveniently, generals also have imperium, so Caesar's next move was to secure himself a governorship of a province and the command of a few legions so he could go around campaigning with all the imperium in the world until he could stand for consul again. Some senators, fearing that Caesar would do literally exactly that, tried to swap his guarantee for governor of a province for essentially governor of the Italian woods, but Pompey and Crassus, again, had enough power to overturn that. Coins and stabby things tend to get you a lot in life. But here we see just how fragile the Republic really was at this point.
All right, Crassus. I see. That's why I love you, Crassus. Gee, now that you mention it, I think I'll be nicer to your good friend Caesar.
Anyone with enough connections and resources could effectively cripple the normal flow of government and steer it in favorable directions for their own benefit. But anyway, Caesar got himself 4 legions and a cushy governorship in southern Gaul, along with a metric buttload of military imperium to keep him safe, and set about campaigning in Gaul for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Alright, cross-promotion time. So Historius Civilis, the guy who made the video about Caesar's consulship, has over a dozen other fantastic videos dedicated to Caesar and his Gallic campaigns. So if you
And the Gauls had it coming. I mean, I'm sorry. The Gauls had it coming.
want to know way more about that particular chunk of history, the link's in the description. It's astounding how much we know in detail about these campaigns, and it's because Caesar himself wrote extensive commentaries on them. This was critical, as he could justify his continued campaign in Gaul year after year by showing how cool he was and how great of a job he was doing, while also building up support among the Roman people by also showing how cool he was and how great of a job he was doing. Plus, we got a history out of it, so win-win-win. Alright, so in enough detail.
And in turn, we showed those filthy Gauls what's up. I mean, dude, hey, come on. YouTube guidelines. YouTube guidelines.
That I can still sleep at night, but also in short enough form that this video won't be an hour long, Caesar's campaign went roughly as follows. In 58 BC, Caesar attacked the Helvetii
Exactly. He looked at them funny and you got to kill him.
tribe on the pretense that they were attacking an ally of Rome, because remember, Rome would never be so crass as to attack unprovoked. At the end of each year's campaigning season, Caesar left his armies in Gaul and spent the winters in northern Italy. The next year, Caesar went north, won a battle, and got ambushed one time. In 56, Caesar claimed that the Veneti tribe had, quote, revolted from Rome even though they were in goddamn Finisterre, so, he conquered it.
Yes.
Safe to say at this point that Caesar functionally considered all of Gaul as already his.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, Rome's. The next year, Caesar went really hard on the Gaul is Roman thing. He considered Britain and Germany as threats to Gaul, and their
Yes and no. Germania. Germania is a threat. And Britannia, we need to give it its true Roman name.
therefore as threats to Rome. So in the same year, he bridged the Rhine and attacked some Germans, and he sailed across the English Channel. The invasion of Britain was honestly a total bust, so the next year he went back with a huge fleet because the man can't leave well enough alone, and pushed as far north as the Thames. After his floundering, humiliating scramble on the British beaches the year before, Caesar had to prove that Rome was no pushover, to his enemies, to himself, and to his Romans back home. Also he lost an entire legion to an ambush in the dead of winter.
It was an accident. It's not his fault.
So, whoops. In 53, he went back to Germany and afterwards left half of his bridge still standing in a sort of don't you make me come back there power play. The following year was probably the biggest year of the campaign because King Vercingetorix had unified the remaining
Vercingetorix. Kiss the Roman eagle.
Gallic tribes against Rome. After some battling back and forth, Vercingetorix camped out on the fortified hill city of Alesia. Now, Caesar needed to surround and wall off the city to starve it out, but there was also the distinct likelihood that he himself got attacked while investing the city. So Caesar needed to fortify both directions. His army built a 10-mile-long wall on the inside and a 14-mile-long wall on the outside.
Yes.
That's 24 miles of wall that Caesar threw down because he was goddamn determined to take this city. But
As we should. I mean, come on. Look at it. The city had it coming.
oh snap, next thing you know, a ton of angry Gauls come down to attack Caesar. So, Caesar rolls a natural 20 on his deception check, sends out a cavalry detachment to attack them, but the Gauls think it's the first of an entire Roman reinforcement force, so they panic and book it right the hell out of there, allowing Caesar to take the city, and just like that, all of Gaul basically belongs to Caesar. Boom, that's how you do a campaign.
Beautiful. As the Romans should.
The next 2 years were spent cleaning up the last pockets of resistance because, remember, Caesar still had a few years before he's allowed to buy his way to the consulship again. To complicate things, Crassus died while on a campaign in
Oh, Crassus, why?
Parthia, and Pompey, feeling his oats, got the Senate to rescind Caesar's governorship of Gaul. So even the triumvirate, which was supposed to be immune to the vices of factionalism, fell victim to the vices of factionalism. That's not a good sign. So Caesar got Pompey's note, and astutely realizing that going back to Rome on his own was nearly a death sentence, Caesar, feeling his oats, said screw it, or more accurately said alia iacta est, and brought the 13th Legion over the Rubicon River and into Italy.
Across the Rubicon Primaris.
Pompey and most of the Senate proceeded to nope right the hell out of town and go to Greece. Caesar, rousing the support of the people, was proclaimed temporary dictator, Latin for speaker, with the goal of restoring peace, even though he was technically the one who started the civil war, but details. And he proceeded to absolutely demolish Pompey's army in Greece at the Battle of Pharsalus against all odds. Again, Historia Civilis. And then he chased poor old Pompey to the end of the earth, which in this case was Egypt. Pompey sought refuge with the boy King Ptolemy, who
And that boy King Ptolemy would do something that is unconscionable. He was a consul of Rome.
owed him a favor and was likely very displeased to find himself beheaded instead. Terrible way to start a vacation. Anyway, Caesar was absolutely horrified to see Pompey's head, because first of all he was a fellow Roman citizen, but also Caesar was planning on pardoning him afterwards, not killing him. See, this is a lesson in how healthy communication saves lives. But yeah, Caesar was super big on clemency. That was pretty much his thing, except for, the pirates he crucified, but
Well, those pirates had it coming, as did the Gauls.
anyway, in addition to pardoning some people, tribes, and even whole towns during the Gallic campaign, Caesar pardoned pretty much Pompey's entire army and all of his supporters who fled to Greece with him. For me personally, that's one of the most important aspects of Caesar's character. And he was certainly a controversial character, but it's important that we weigh the good with the bad. He broke a ton of laws and sold his soul just to become consul, but he made moderate reforms that benefited the people. He killed a lot of Gauls and Romans in the civil wars following his consulship.
But the Gauls had it coming.
But he granted clemency wherever he could. And he basically fashioned himself a king after he was appointed dictator for life, but he was beloved by his people and he used his power to stabilize Rome. All in all, he did do a lot of serious and lasting good for Rome's people, but that good was done through politically devious means for suspiciously power-hungry motivations.
But it was for true Romans. That's all that matters. At the end of the day, I excuse Caesar. As Caesar gave pardons, so do I. Caesar gets the pardon. High pardon.
He's a controversial character for really good reason, and I'm doing my best to give you both sides of this right now so you can get a feel for some of the questions people like Brutus asked themselves when they were making plans to assassinate him. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Ahead of myself.
Pompey, he had it coming.
Oof. Awkward. While Caesar was in Egypt deciding what to do with poor old Pompey's head, he was making moves both with and on the Queen Cleopatra.
No, don't fall for her sex craft. She's gonna trick you.
Supporting her in her civil war against her brother. The arrangement proved beneficial for both of them, as Cleopatra could count on Caesar's Rome supporting rather than annexing Egypt, and Caesar could count on Cleopatra's Egypt as a continuous source of food, which helped supply
She's tricking you. Don't fall for it, Caesar.
Caesar's generous public food programs. And for bonus points, by all accounts, Cleopatra was just plain interesting to talk to, so win-win. Following Caesar's return to Rome, his position as dictator was extended to 10 years. During his time as dictator, Caesar managed to instate even more reforms that promoted public welfare, government efficiency, and general stability. For one, he limited the political and military power of provincial governors, mostly to stop other people from doing to him what he did to Pompey in the Senate. He also reformed the monstrosity that was the old Roman calendar so well that we still use a version of it today. He also conducted a census, carried out several building projects, unified the Roman provinces more closely with Italy, and was just all around a really solid leader. Did he pull a lot of super mega illegal stunts to get him?
No, he did not. He did do nothing illegal.
Himself to this point? Yeah, absolutely. But did he make some
liar
substantially beneficial reforms that the people loved? Absolutely.
Which makes it okay. We pardon Caesar. Caesar gets a pardon. And if you disagree, we'll throw you in jail.
Okay, this is the part that makes me sad and angry. In March of 44 BC, Caesar was named dictator for life, and this made a lot of senators really antsy because at this point he was basically king, and Rome still very specifically didn't like kings. On the Ides of March, Brutus, Cassius, and
the greatest crime in history. This, next to the death of Aurelian, a horrific tragedy. A horrific tragedy.
60 other senators surrounded and killed Caesar in the theater of Pompey. Ironic. Caesar's last moments are rather disputed, but my take on it is that when he saw Brutus, his friend, whom he had pardoned after Pharsalus was a part of the conspiracy, he accepted his fate and fell to the ground, covering his face with his toga. I don't think Caesar even was eloquent enough to have fancy last words when there were 23 knives simultaneously stabbing him. No one is. The assassins may have fancied themselves liberators and restorers of the Republic, but they didn't count on the fact that the Romans really liked Caesar because, oh gee, I don't know, he was a generous and effective leader. While I may disapprove of Caesar's actions in his early career, I abhor his assassins. He granted them clemency and they killed him. Dante put...
Exactly. Stupid Brutus.
It's Brutus and Cassius in the lowermost pit of hell for betraying their protector, and I'm with Dante on this one. Anyway, that's Caesar, stabbed 23 times and left bleeding out on the floor of the Curia. Brutus and Cassius were able to read the mood in the room well enough to tell that they weren't wanted, so they and a bunch of senators hightailed it to Greece to build up an army. As we'll see in the next video, it doesn't end too well for the assassins, but I'm already into overtime, so let's wrap this up. In my mind, Caesar killed the Republic long before he was even dictator. He proved how breakable the system was. Let's count it. He bribed his way into office,
not necessarily. He used finances to open a door.
Legally rammed legislation through the Senate,
He was pushing legislation.
intimidated his political enemies with threats of force, escaped
He had to punch people in the face. You go out, you hit people in the mouth.
any and all consequences for his actions on a technicality, commandeered Roman resources for his own prestige and enrichment, marched
Well, he did it for the good of the people.
an entire legion into Rome, and declared war on a fellow Roman for his own political gain. The
Because they're being pricks.
entirety of Caesar's main political career was either distinctly unrepublican in character or explicitly illegal. And remember
Well, get a judge, jury, all right? Innocent till proven guilty.
that only after all of that did the Senate name Caesar as dictator for the first time. By the time Caesar was named dictator for life and functionally had become a king, he had long since proved that the Republic was fundamentally broken. For most of
It's fine.
the Republic's history, its success came from fantastic Roman teamwork. But here, its downfall came primarily from the selfishness of powerful Romans. People realized how incredibly fragile and gameable the institutions of the Republic were when you stretched them across the entire Mediterranean, so basically one of two things could have happened to Rome. Either civil wars continued on and eventually ripped Rome to bits, or something in Rome's government changed to make it less susceptible to all those civil wars in the first place. Basically, it was monarchy or bust at this point, because nothing else could stop the chaos. While Augustus becoming emperor down the line was far from a guarantee, Rome's transition from a republic to a monarchy was inevitable if it was to survive. It's a little paradoxical, but in a way, Caesar saved Rome by destroying the then unstable and unworkable republic.
Which makes thus all of his actions perfect, legal, legit, and he is innocent.
He abused the hell out of its institutions, but in doing so he showed how effective a strong and stable central government could be, and this was the basis of Rome's accomplishments for the centuries to follow. Today, Caesar kills the Republic. Next time, Augustus starts an empire.
Good. Because we're getting our learn on. And you know something? Let me just make a few corrections, okay? Caesar, innocent. Caesar saved the Republic. Caesar helped create a better world and lay down the foundations. He was a strong man that was ready to set for better times, which unfortunately for Rome's history would eventually create weak men that would create harsh times. But we don't talk about the fall of Rome, and we don't talk about the fall of Constantinople. But until then, you great, beautiful people, remember, anytime anyone says that Caesar was doing things illegal or was a criminal or was corrupt, you correct him. You look them straight in the eye and you say he was a true Roman who ate true Roman bread, drank true Roman wine, and more importantly, wanted to create a true Roman world. He was a Roman we deserved and needed.